Good day. Welcome to this segment of History from St. Paul's, as we continue to explore the people and events related to our site. My name is Park Ranger Michael Callahan. Today, we'll explore a number of military actions which occurred in the St. Paul's vicinity during the Revolutionary War, subsequent to the Battle of Pell's Point, which occurred on 18 October 1776. These engagements give a sense of the variety of actions in the area, which was contested by both the British and Continental forces. Located at a critical crossroads of southern Westchester County, St. Paul's Church, in the town of Eastchester, was situated between the warring armies, with neither side in permanent control for a significant period of time. After the Battle of White Plains on 28 October 1776, the British forces withdrew to southern Westchester, with the Continental forces moving north to the Peekskill area. The area between is known as the neutral ground. The village of Eastchester and its church acting as a staging area for raids by both armies. Eastchester was situated on the Boston Post Road, a vital artery for transportation and communications. The masonry church was easily fortified and was utilized as a barracks, hospital, and storage depot. Although no major battles were fought in the area, Eastchester and its environs were the site of numerous raids and skirmishes until the war concluded in 1783. This also created a dangerous situation for local residents of the area. Who to side with? Is it safe to remain neutral? This was the dilemma faced by those who remained in the town and its environs. 2 days after the Battle of Pell's Point, Crown forces comprised of British regulars and German auxiliaries, commonly called Hessians, marched into the town of Eastchester and began to use the church as a field hospital. The British and Germans also occupied houses and other buildings in the town. Several of these buildings were located in the area of Morell's Tavern, roughly 2 miles north of the town center. The buildings at Morell's were put to use as an outpost by the Hessians. The Hessians felt a bit too secure of the victory of the Continental forces at Pell's Point, and were careless in their system of patrolling the area as well as posting guards. Continental officers realized that they could use this oversight to their advantage. On the afternoon of 23 October, a force of retreating Continentals was not far from Morell's. A small party departed from the column and surprised the Hessian outpost. The initial force to withdraw was reinforced by a larger party sent by General Heath. This larger force then resumed their attack on the German troops, reportedly killing 10 and taking 2 or 3 prisoners, with the loss of 1 man mortally wounded. Any wounded Hessians could quite possibly be brought to the church for treatment. In January 1777, Eastchester was temporarily under Continental control. A war council, headed by Generals William Heath and Benjamin Lincoln, was held in the vicinity of the church to discuss the plan of attack on British forces in Manhattan. The plan was never implemented, and was several years before the Continental Army held full control over the area. The British Army maintained periodic control of the area until 1779 through 1780. In addition to British regulars and German auxiliaries, there were a number of loyalist units such as the Queen's Rangers, commanded by John Gray Simcoe, and the British Legion, commanded by Bannister Tarleton, active in the area. These units, along with Emmerich Scherzar, were comprised of men from Great Britain as well as American loyalists willing and eager to fight their rebellious countrymen. The war in Eastchester had evolved into a civil war, with neighbors and divided families pitted against one another. In August of 1777, the church and town were garrisoned by British regulars and loyalists, with the church utilized a hospital and supply depot. Supplies stored in the church made a target of the poorly supplied Continental forces. On 22 August, troops of General Varnum's Continental Brigade and General Ward's Connecticut Militia launched a successful raid on the church. Dr. Lylus Cornelius, the surgeon's mate assigned to the 2nd Rhode Island Regiment, accompanied the troops to evaluate the value of any medical supplies which were seized. This he did and directed they be sent to Continental lines. After joining the raiders on a reconnaissance to the Mile Square area, Cornelius returned to Eastchester to find the Continentals had withdrawn and loyalist troops to get in control of the town. Cornelius was captured and imprisoned in New York City until he escaped in 1778. Upon his discharge from the Army, Cornelius returns to Westchester County, settling in the area and practicing medicine here for a number of years. What we today call small unit actions continue to occur on a frequent basis. In 1779, the 4th Continental Light Dragoons were based in the Pound Ridge area. Lieutenant Erasmus Gill and his men patrolled the area around Eastchester. The British knew of these patrols and noticed a pattern in how they were conducted. In mixed British-Hessian force was tasked with ambushing Gill and his men when they arrived in the town. On 3 October, the ambush party was in place awaiting Gill's arrival. But that day, Gill and his 24 men approached from a different direction. A small battle ensued, and Gill and his men decided to fight their way out. Some escaped, but 2 were killed and Lieutenant Gill was captured. He was exchanged a few months later and returned to his regiment. A Hessian participant in the incident later drew a map of the engagement. By 1780, most of the Crown forces had withdrawn to Upper Manhattan, but still continued to raid into the Bronx and Westchester. Although Eastchester was not a permanent post for the Continental Army, Washington's troops did pass through occasionally. And not only Continentals. France at this time was an ally of the fledgling nation. King Louis XVI had dispatched a contingent of French troops commanded by General Rochambeau to assist the Continentals in the conflict with the British. In the summer of 1781, this French army was encamped in the Dobbs Ferry area, north of Eastchester, and remained there until it departed for Yorktown, Virginia in August. In the interim, Continental forces, with French assistance, continued to raid British outposts and conduct reconnaissance patrols of the British lines. Both Continentals and French forces passed through and camped in Eastchester, with men of Lauzon's Legion occupying the town twice. The Legion was a temporary unit of the French army, composed mostly of foreigners from Ireland, Russia, Denmark, Hungary, and the German states. The unit was raised and commanded by the Duc de Lauzon, and was composed of both infantry and cavalry. The Legion later saw service in the Yorktown campaign. Although the major fighting after 1776 occurred further to the north and to the south, Eastchester and surrounding area continued to play an active role for both sides until the end of the war. The final withdrawal of the Crown forces from New York City in late 1783 finally brought peace to the area. Thank you for being with us today, and please join us again for our next segment of History from St. Paul's.